Joining me now, three of my favorite radio talk show hosts in Kansas City. We're joined by Chris Stigall of KCMO. Good to have you here, Chris, in New York, or have you there anyway. In New York, Errol Lewis, WWRL, John Gambling, WOR. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. How about this, John? We have a stimulus package that no one's read in the Senate, or I shouldn't say no one, that very few people in the Senate or the Congress have read, and they want to act. This is just like George Bush.
I flipped through a couple of pages today, and I have to tell you the most amazing part of this bill, which is, 650 pages long, something, whatever it happens to be, happens to have on each and every page numbers that you, even in high math courses, they don't get that many zeros. Yeah. It's just amazing for projects that I don't know that anybody really understands what they're for. It's just money. They took a pot of money in Washington and suggested you and you pick as much as you need out for whatever project.
Do your listeners want this, irrespective of whether our legislature has read it?
Well, I think as far as the reading, it can be done. I mean, 600 pages,
it couldn't be done.
535 members.
I have to be one of those fools who expects it.
Well, I'm a little geeky myself. I went plowing through it. But I do think, what my listeners are saying is that they want something that's going to work. And if spending money to get something going is going to work, then they're going to like it. The minute it looks like it's not going to work, they're going to turn on this administration.
Where do they go for a refund?
Well, there'll be no refund. There'll be no refund.
Chris, what are your listeners saying?
Well, latest numbers out today. There was a fresh poll this afternoon on the way down here, Lou, that says 60% of the country not nuts about more government spending. That's the thing, going into the presidential election, the one thing in a very bipartisan way the country spoke out and said, we're not excited about this massive government spending. I'm telling you, somebody would win major points if they dared step up and say no. And right now, no one can figure out how to say no.
I had Charlie Rangel on just yesterday. He's the man behind this, or certainly one of the principals. And I asked the congressman, I said, what's your biggest fear with the stimulus package? And there was a slight pause, and he said that it won't work. And then I said, what do you do then? And he didn't. There is no answer.
Yeah. Those are the stakes. When you see that just yesterday, over 60,000 layoffs were announced, and it was all blue chip names, Microsoft and Harley Davidson and Caterpillar. You're gonna, if you got a choice between doing something, however rushed and ill-conceived it may be, and just kind of hoping that equilibrium will resume at some point.
Do you really see that as the choice, Errol? Isn't there another choice? We were told in September, weren't we, Chris?
That's right.
The sky will fall if we don't see this happen. If we don't see that $700 billion.
Well, and by the way, that was, and Lou, that was 400 pages. That was a 400-pager, by the way. Yeah. And no, we don't know where half of that went.
Well, actually, it's short as 2.5 pages, as I recall.
Yeah. Thomas Sowell said today, and I thought it was brilliant. He said in a column that with the stroke of a pen, in your next paycheck, you could have less taxes taken out. That could affect you real time within a week, within 2 weeks, at the end of the month. The stimulus package, the Congressional Budget Office says it's not even going to take effect, even in a partial chunk until the end of fiscal year 2010.
We're going to take a quick break. Let's go. We're back with our panel, Chris Stigall, Errol Lewis, and John Gambling. This is what Mitch McConnell, the Senate Minority Leader, had to say. We wish the President Bush, well. But frankly, we'll not have to be carrying that sort of political burden that we carried the last two elections. Real quickly, your thoughts, Chris?
Oh, my. Mitch McConnell, he needs to remember that he barely eked out a win in Kentucky, and it wasn't President Bush. He, like McCain and every other Republican that signed off on that first stimulus package everybody hated, that's why Kentucky barely put him back in office again. He needs to remember that.
His wife, Elaine Chao, was the labor secretary for Bush for 8 years.
That's gratitude for you.
What's the big protest here?
He's done pretty well by George Bush, I think.
That's gratitude for you. And as I recall, after the 2004 very close election, there were a lot of grateful Republicans who were glad for what Karl Rove and George Bush did in pulling out an unlikely win.
Are the Republicans going to do anything here besides say, no?
They're waving their hands a lot. They're making a lot of noise, but I don't think so. I think that they all believe that they have to, hitch themselves to this Democratic spending bill and this president as best they're able.
They're salivating over all of those goodies. Believe me, they want to build some stuff.
Mark Halperin of Time magazine came out with a comment today talking about the fact that as many House Republicans went over to pose for pictures with President Obama as wanted to talk to him about the stimulus package. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Chris, good to have you with us. Errol, thank you. John, appreciate it as always. Thank you.